Trans-Tasman travel bubble. It's an idea that I think you might like, Margy Osmond. What do you think?
Well, we like it a lot, as to the point where we've been doing an enormous amount of work in this space. So we have an aviation panel internally made up of member CEOs who are looking at the best, the smartest ways of making this work from airport to airport on both sides of the ditch. The Australian-New Zealand Leadership Forum, which is made up of business leaders on both sides, have also been very focused on how we make this work.
And how would it work in practice? Would it just be as simple as resuming travel between the two nations, and there's an undertaking from Australia and New Zealand that these are the only two countries, this special relationship are the only two countries that it will be afforded to?
Well, yes. Look, I think it's important to understand that New Zealand is still our second biggest market. In fact, it's only in the last 12, 18 months that China pipped the New Zealanders at the post as being our biggest group of inbound. So while it'd be a case of activating what we already have, we also have to give the governments on both sides of the Tasman and the travelling public a sense of comfort that all the health requirements are being met, that social distancing put in place. What does that look like? What are the isolation rules potentially on both sides? Just getting some clarity around that and being able to structure the businesses that will have to make that work, i.e. airlines, airports, transport mechanisms and so forth.
Tourism, travel, the industries right around Australia have been suffering since really the beginning of the year because of this virus. Is it worse or a little bit better than you'd hoped?
Oh, gosh. Well, and don't forget the bushfires. I mean, essentially from the tourism industry's perspective, you know, we had the ultimate perfect storm, the double whammy to end them all. And I think that one of the big issues is, of course, the domestic tourism surge that everybody
sort of 6 to 12 months. And I think what we have to do is pay some very careful attention to regional communities to make sure that they're happy and able to cope with that influx of Australian travellers. And then we need to think about the Australian-New Zealand piece, and I'm sure there's lots of people who are hoping they'd be able to go and ski there, or people in New Zealand hoping they can come over here for some lovely beach time, or perhaps just snow gum skiing on this side, which is very different to the New Zealand experience. So, I think that all up the whole idea of the bubble has an enormous amount going for it. But I think the other thing that's important is whatever we put in place for the Australian-New Zealand mechanism has to be the same sort of template that the government has comfort thinking about potentially using a little further down the track with other countries that might meet the profile that our government feels is appropriate in terms of opening borders. So, that could be Japan, it could be Taiwan. There's a number of options.